Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar. I just bought a $500 virus bomb with 30 million viruses that I'm going to be making a virus investigations video on. But that's not today's video, simply because as you buy things, they ship over to your house. So right now, I am actually having a digital, I guess you could say, nuke sent over to my house, all right? Which I'm actually really excited for, to be honest. Like, that is... I just want to destroy a computer that I pick up from the pawn shop, okay? I think that's going to be peak content. But ladies and gentlemen, you know what I think is also peak content? Is when Apple keeps taking fat L's. Now, as you all know, I'm not the biggest Apple fan in the world. I'm also not the biggest Apple hater. But I want to start off by raising awareness to a serious mental health condition that we face in this part of the world, which is called blue bubble-itis. There's actually a group of adults, literally my age, that care about the colors of the bubbles, okay, on devices. Some people who would be willing to shame an individual for having a green bubble. See, the reason why the colors of bubbles on messaging applications are so important for some iPhone users is for them, blue bubbles is a sign of wealth, success, and happiness, and green bubbles is a sign of poverty messaging into your group chats. Now, of course, I like to believe this is a small group of people. Most adults don't really care. Messaging somebody is just messaging somebody. But generally, why the colors are different is Apple, with the iPhone, has something known as iMessage, which is a chat messaging service that is enabled by default on iPhone devices. Meaning if you text another person with an iPhone, you won't send an SMS text message over the cellular service like you normally would. You're just going to communicate to them like you were using a standard chat messaging service, and it all happens dynamically on the fly. If it's one thing Apple is cool for, it's how dynamically their products work with one another, without ever having the actual end user noticing the discrepancies. So why do you get a green bubble? That's because sometimes your friend, your neighbor, your cousin, whatever, has an Android device. And Android is not iOS, okay? So when you send a message to an Android device, the iPhone, instead of sending an iMessage-based message, it defaults to a standard text messaging protocol, which means green bubble back and forth, okay? There's no iMessage at all. Now, there's a big problem with this. One of them is the fact that the quality of messages tend to fail. Now, Google has actually made a campaign year after year where they try to shame Apple into fixing their texting. If you think I'm wrong, literally they call the text messaging between iPhone and Apple the iPager, which is not too far off because what you effectively have is a messaging experience where if you text message between iPhone and Android, the texts are fine, okay? You'll send like the word hello back and forth just fine. But things like read receipts, okay? Things like typing indicators. You know when your girlfriend and you are having a fight and you see her little you see her little typing indicator pop up and you're like, oh shit, it's a breakup waiting to happen. You don't get that. Things like sending messages with photos and videos defaults to something known as MMS. And MMS is such old technology at this point. We are talking Nokia, Sony Ericsson days, okay? Remember the Sony Ericsson? Hold on, wait a minute, what am I doing? Hold up, we're talking the Gizmondo days, where the actual quality of the message and or the photo and video sent is downright deplorably bad. We are talking resolutions that are lower than the lowest quality you can watch right now on YouTube. We are talking audio quality worse than walkie-talkies from other ends of the house in Phasmophobia. It's not a good experience, okay? So again, Android or Google likes to shame Apple, okay? They're like, yo, Apple can fix this if they enable modern texting standards like RCS. Now, it pains me to say RCS is modern because RCS was basically brought into existence all the way back in February 2008, where the GSM Association became the home of rich chat services. Now, RCS is basically used by around 390 million people a month across 88 different cell phone operators in 59 countries, okay? And that's just since 2020. So again, if Apple just enabled this protocol within the messaging application, it wouldn't matter if the bubbles were green and blue. The exact feature set between all these devices would basically be the same. So it doesn't matter. The only people that get mad over the blue and green bubbles, I think, are those that find that the green bubbles offer less features than the blue. But whose fault is that? It's fucking Apple's, okay? If Apple got out of their ass, they might have changed things around. So this is where a area of the world known as the European Union comes into question. Now, remember a while back we talked about Apple and sideloading? Well, the thing known as Digital Markets Act, where the EU has actually walked in and talked about actual gatekeepers, meaning services that are so big, okay, that they are effectively gatekeeping required services for many people in the world. So again, a gatekeeper in the European Union refers to a company where the size impacts the internal market. This is presumed the case if the company achieves an annual turnover in the European Economic Area equal to or above 7.5 billion in each of the last 3 financial years. Last I checked, Apple is definitely hitting that amount. Okay, they're hitting the gritty there. The control of an important gateway for business users towards final customers. This is presumed to be the case if the company operates a core service with more than 45 million monthly active end users established or located in the EU, and an entrenched and durable position. Now, by default, iMessage isn't thrown into this, but obviously a lot of companies like Google have basically been fighting the European Union, and Samsung as well, to make so that iMessage is thrown into this act. From Google's own SVP, they seriously said Apple's iMessage lock-in is a documented strategy using peer pressure and bullying. There's a bullying campaign as a way to sell products is disingenuous for a company that has humanity and equity as a core part of its market. I agree. Remember when Mother Nature showed up to Apple's headquarters? Yeah, Apple, you gotta think about humanity and equity right here. No, seriously, this is just Google and Samsung finding a way to get Apple basically playing ball. Now, at this moment in time, Apple surprisingly has announced, oh yeah, we're getting RCS support next year, so 2024. Now, to be honest with you, I honestly believe Jesus Christ would show up before Apple even let this happen. I honestly thought aliens were going to show up, integrate into our society, and we might even see the first legalization of humanitarian marriage on planet Earth, okay? I did not expect Apple to cave. This is baffling. So this is definitely a slap, I would say, from the European Union. I would have to imagine, because this is probably down the pipeline. And remember, Apple recently turned their phones into USB-C. Not because they wanted to. What are you, fucking crazy? It's because the Europeans were like, you gotta play ball there, pal. Otherwise you can't release your phones in our neck of the woods. And the European Union is a pretty big neck of the woods. And Apple, as stoic as they are against this shit, they're gonna play ball, especially when the market's that big. So they said later next year, we'll be adding support for RCS Universal Profile, the standard as currently published by the GSM Association. We believe RCS Universal Profile will offer better interoperability experience when compared to SMS or MMS. Really? Wow, this technology from 2008 is better than technology from 1997. Wow. God, dude. Oh yeah, dude, I love Apple, man. When they gotta play ball, I swear, these dudes suck their own dicks as much as they can. This will work alongside iMessage. Key distinction: they're not opening up iMessage, and nor will they ever. Okay, they're just making the experience better for everyone, which will continue to be the best and most secure messaging experience for Apple users. Now, I thankfully haven't seen a lot of Apple users kind of go into like full defense mode, like, please daddy, don't do this, don't let the green bubbles get better. No, in reality, this is only a North America issue as far as I'm considering, okay? For a lot of my European friends and friends from back home in India, around the world that's not North America, a lot of people don't care about iMessage or bubble colors. For a lot of those people, they just use WhatsApp. Services like WhatsApp allows them to experience actual proper messaging between devices without any real issue. In all honesty, my wife, who used to be an iPhone girl while I was an Android boy, well, that's wild, that's a little cringy to say, we used to use Signal for a long time because honestly, we couldn't deal with the SMS services that Apple basically forced because I was an Android user for that time. And this is one of the things that wiles me about Apple too, right? Like, of course, playing ball should have happened years ago. And I don't think this came out of anything. Apple has basically been holding on to this for as long as they can. So again, this is just another sign of them basically taking an L and having to play along. So at this moment in time, a company known as Nothing jumped in, and if you don't know Nothing, Nothing basically produces Android devices. It's another Chinese high-quality phone brand, which basically creates these Android devices that, I guess from the outside looking in, look almost close to iPhone devices. And to understand, a lot of companies are trying to break into this space because a lot of young people use iPhones, at least in North America. Now, these phones aren't cheap, in my opinion. They're also pretty much as expensive. You know, you're looking at $1,000 phone right now here. And one of their big caveats is the fact that they have iMessage built in. And it comes with a pretty big asterisk. They're routing your messages through their services. So introduce something known as Sunbird, which is blue bubbles on your Android. Now, this is a chat messaging service that allows you to experience iMessage on an Android device. Now, it's not that you couldn't do this before. There were tools like iMessage, which allowed you to install a server onto a Mac that would basically relay messages from your phone to iMessage as the service. And this would allow you to basically use iMessage on an Android device, provided you had a Mac sitting around. What these companies want to do is create services where you don't even need the in-between device, because you send your data directly through them. So looking at the actual Sunbird promotional video, one thing that I wanted to show you is like super cringy here. So again, they start off talking about end-to-end encryption. Android says high-res media, no more green bubbles. Yeah, it is actually important for some people, as sad as it is. But according to their page, you basically sign up, connect iMessage. Now, that's a bit of a red flag personally. Now, Marquise Brownlee made a video talking about this, and he discussed a massive red flag, which one that I'll elaborate on, so listen to this.
Anyone using it. Same thing is also true about Beeper and the others. Because the way this one works, and I've confirmed this with Nothing, is when you sign in with an Apple ID, it's literally signing in on some Mac Mini in a server farm somewhere. And that Mac Mini will then do all of the routing for you to make this happen. You will never see or actually hold or use that Mac Mini. Now, no one else is supposed to be able to use or see that Mac Mini or your messages on it because it's all encrypted, but you are still logging in with your own Apple ID on someone else's computer. I don't know how else to put that, like that on its face.
This is why I think Marquise Brownlee, the questions that he asks is the reason why he's one of the top tech channels out here. So instead of glazing any further, good question that he asked here. You know why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, you should never trust a company to store your credentials and run your information through. Now, I kind of thought the way that they were doing this is, remember a while back when I made that video a couple of years ago where I was like, Apple's gonna hate my Mac, and I virtualized my own Mac OS system? The way that I did it was I basically downloaded Apple's operating system from their servers, and I basically ran it under a virtualized environment. So I was thinking the whole time, the only way that this was gonna work was they would have like hundreds of virtualized Macs, each associated with a special Sunbird or Nothing ID. And basically that would be like the Mac that would just be sitting somewhere in a server farm and you would route information through it. But obviously, I think that's going to be against Apple's like TOS, so they probably have to have real actual hardware, which also begs the question how economically viable this messaging platform is going to be. I can't imagine you can do too many instances of iMessage on one actual piece of hardware. So for them to have a bunch of Macs sitting in a cluster somewhere doing this shit makes me question the economic feasibility of this project, but it also brings in a very serious security issue. Remember, no matter how much end-to-end encryption they can say, if that hardware can be accessed by anyone, remember, you are sending your personal photos, your videos, your messages to a random computer somewhere in the world and sending it to another phone. Ladies and gentlemen, right there, it doesn't matter. If the color of the bubbles are that important where you are willing to introduce such a fucking security risk, then you need mental goddamn help, because there is no service in the world that is worth doing all of that over. Right there and then, that is already a red flag that nobody should be able to tolerate. Dude, Jesus could come down, start a company, and nobody should trust him that much, even if, you know, everything is above board. Look, at the end of the day, if you really want to eliminate these bubble colors and the limitations before Apple introduces RCS, just use something like Signal, just use something like WhatsApp, hell, Facebook Messenger, because at least in that department, stuff is still sent device to device, and there's no middleman in between that something shady could happen, okay? I understand nothing says that they're not going to do anything shady, but then again, that requires a massive level of trust, one that I don't think anybody should be putting in.
Are you going to piss Apple off?
I'm working under the assumption that Tim Cook isn't going to watch this video.
We've developed an app that allows you to iMessage from Android. You've likely heard of the blue bubble, green bubble debate, where Apple's lack of RCS support limits features between Android and iOS. That risks user privacy, causes discrimination, affects dating. I mean, it's even in a Drake song.
If a girl breaks up with you or a guy breaks up with you over the color of your bubbles, trust me, you dodged a red flag there, dude. That's the kind of person that'll cut your cock off at night, clean one slice. That said, though, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, Apple takes another beating, another L, and honestly, it makes choice for everyone in the global world using phones a lot better, okay? The more Apple L's, the better choices even Apple users get, okay? Sometimes for these big companies, having L's is ultimately it's a W for you, all right? So ladies and gentlemen, that being said, this is me, Mutahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it, I am out.